For the third straight day, Russian jets bullying American drones over Syria's skies. But what's the administration's repeated response to Russia's tactics? It's always reckless and unprofessional.
We call on the Russian forces to cease this type of reckless behavior and to behave like professional airmen.
The actions by Russian pilots in international airspace were reckless and dangerous.
This reckless and unprofessional act by the Russians.
Russian aircraft again engaged in dangerous and reckless and unprofessional behavior.
President Putin has made overt nuclear threats against Europe and a reckless disregard for the responsibilities of the non-proliferation regime.
So, all talk, no action. Here to react, KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor and American Conservative Union board member. Good morning, KT. Hey, just as a quick aside and curiosity, is there like a memo that goes out? How does like that verbal tick get so pervasive?
Yeah, actually, there is a memo.
I thought there might be. Yeah.
Usually there's a morning conference call between all the agencies, and they say, here's what we're going to have as our response to this issue. So, yes. And that verbal tick just sticks right in there, and every time they get that little question, that answer goes up.
Everybody literally gets on the same page.
Yes.
KT, what do you think, though, substantively about what's taking place over the skies of Syria and the American response?
Well, look, it's serious stuff the Russians are doing, and they're kind of probing and prodding, and they're testing every which way. But, professional, unprofessional response, you're hurting our feelings. What does Vladimir Putin care? He throws his adversaries out windows. He's not going to be worried about whether you like him or whether he's popular. And so, actually, by doing this kind of response, we're even looking weaker in his eyes. If we really wanted to get his attention, what we would do is bankrupt him. We would immediately start the American energy industry again, immediately export energy, and we would drive the global price down to the $40, $50 a barrel, and it would bankrupt Russia. Russia is paying for the war in Ukraine and paying for its military on the excess profits it's making from its energy, oil, and natural gas exports. If we wanted to bring Russia to its knees and have them pay attention, we would use what we have, and our best weapon for that is economic, and that's our energy weapon.
Well, let me ask you this, KT, as I see this. Okay, let's be clear. We're talking about Syria, right? We're talking about the skies over Syria. Are we at war with Russia? Are we now, the United States of America, or are we headed that way? This is a thing that is metastasizing beyond Ukraine, and whoever is not the provocateur. The lines have been drawn, and now it's just a question of the severity of the actions. I just want to see reality as it is, KT.
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody is looking for a war with Russia, including Russia with us. But Russia might look for an opportunity to look tough against us and look strong against us. The worry that I and others have is that we're sort of slipstreaming our way into some bigger conflict in Europe, and that we are also putting ourselves into a position where one of these provocative actions could escalate by accident, probably. And then we would be in a situation where, gee, what are we going to do? How does anybody back down if there's just a tragic accident?
I think
and that's the worry, and the worry is that, so for 20 years we were focused on the forever wars in the Middle East. What did we ignore? China. Now we're focused on the forever war in Ukraine. What are we ignoring? China. Yeah. China's the main threat. China's the country that can absolutely bring the United States way of life to an end within a decade, within 15 years. And yet we're still somehow focused every place but China.
I think that's so wonderfully put. Slipstreaming our way potentially to an accidental problem because of focus not being where it needs to be to real threats. I want to get you in on this quickly. The United States has delivered or is planning to deliver cluster bombs to Ukraine for usage against the Russians. This is against things that the United States has endorsed in the past. In fact, this administration, Jen Psaki, said this as a callback, KT.
There are reports of illegal cluster bombs and vacuum bombs being used by the Russians. If that's true, what is the next step of this administration, and is there a red line for how much violence will be tolerated against civilians in this manner that's illegal and potentially a war crime?
It would be. I don't have any confirmation of that. We have seen the reports. If that were true, it would potentially be a war crime. Obviously, there are a range of international fora that would assess that. So certainly we would look to that to be a part of that conversation.
Really quickly, KT, what do you make of that? And Pete pointed out earlier in the show, this also seems to back up some reports that we're running out of munitions to send, and now we're down to cluster bombs.
We are sending munitions to Ukraine at the expense of our own readiness. I mean, we are depleting the American supply. We are not producing weapons fast enough to replace them, to give to Ukraine, and also to keep them in our own military. And remember, Vladimir Putin has a long way to go in fighting a war against genocide against a culture, bombing civilian sites. He hasn't really done that deliberately yet. So the key is going to stop this war. And the way you stop this war is to prevent his ability to fight it. Take away his resources, bankrupt him. He won't have any money. He'll have to go to the negotiating table. And then we find a deal where Ukraine, after the fighting stops, rebuilds his country. Everybody will rush in to rebuild Ukraine. Vladimir Putin, 5 years after the war fighting stops, he's broke. He's bankrupt. You want to get rid of Vladimir Putin? Make him bankrupt. That's the way to have regime change in Russia, not what these people are talking about. Let's escalate this war. Again, it's a slipstreaming mission creep to a bigger conflict that we don't want.
All right, KT McFarland, great to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.